Welcome to what will essentially be either the last or the second last video of this year, 2023. I want to first take this opportunity to appreciate everybody who has worked with us through this year as we tried to bring in a positive attitude to how we look at the politics of our country every week. We've always tried to do the glass half full approach to anything that is happening, to the things that are happening over the week. And the reason we do this is because there is so much glass half empty opinions out there and very few glass half full opinions. It is our desire and determination to always bring in a positive look, to try and encourage people, to try and motivate people. Because if we just keep pointing out the things that are not going well, the things that are not happening, the disappointments we are having as a country, we demotivate our human capital. We demotivate ourselves, and we can't afford to do that. Yes, this is not for us. This is not us saying that everything is okay. This is us looking at where things are working in the midst of the things that are not going well. Today, I want to look at the plan. We've had the president, a lot, the deputy president as well, speak about the plan many times. But the funniest thing is that I don't know how many Kenyans actually understand what the plan is, what the plan stands for. I was in a social function recently, and we started having a conversation about how this government has disappointed people, how things are not working. And somebody raised the issue of what exactly have we been disappointed in? Now, for you to be able to answer that question properly, you must first understand what are the expectations. What is the plan? Anywhere you go, for you to be judged, you must first agree on the terms of responsibility that you are. What are the obligations? So the question that I would like to put out there today and try and answer in my own understanding, what are the expectations of the Kenyan people to the Kenya Kwanza government? This can only be answered by the plan, the promise that the President William RUTO, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and the government promised the Kenyan people that enable the Kenyan people to vote for them. You cannot judge them outside this plan. We have to agree that this is the plan. They're either delivering on this plan or they are failing on this plan. Everything else you think about, anything else you're doing, that has to be an extra. So let's start by first looking at the plan. And even before we go to the plan, let's ask ourselves, do we even understand how governments operate? How many people remember that Uhuru also had a plan, right? When I was in parliament in the last term, our responsibility as members of parliament for the ruling party was to go out and politically explain Uhuru's plan to the Kenyan people. If you remember, Uhuru had what was called the Big Four agenda. The Big Four agenda, which is simple when you think about it, but was complex in implementation. The first thing that Uhuru talked about was food security, right? So food security was supposed to ensure that people have food, right? That we became a food secure nation. And the intervention that were done in the Uhuru administration were things like the Galana agricultural project in the coast, just trying to encourage people to do farming. Then you also had healthcare, the universal healthcare program, which was piloted including in Nyeri County, just trying to see whether it is possible to generate a good plan that would ensure every single Kenyan has access to affordable healthcare. The third thing that he had was manufacturing. And we saw a lot of companies setting up. We even set up a company to produce firearms. We had microchips being developed in Nyeri again, and we had a lot of other things that were going on in other places. The final one was affordable housing. And if you think about this, I know we have some projects that have been opened up in Pangani, some projects that have been opened up in Embu that were carried over from the previous administration. And the whole idea was, again, try and see whether you can invest in housing projects, especially for the low-income citizens of this country. That was a Big Four agenda under Uhuru Kenyatta. If we were to judge him based on how he did, we'd have to judge him based on that plan. How well did he do with food security? How well did he do in manufacturing? How well did he do in affordable healthcare? How well did he do in trying to make sure that we got the housing and the houses that were promised by his government? So when we come to William Ruto and we want to judge William Ruto, I know he's been in office for only 1.5 years, approximately, or generally. If you're going to judge him, then you first must understand what he promised he was going to deliver to you. The plan. It's actually called the Better Plan. And better is not B-E-T-T-E-R, it's B-E-T-A. Bottom-up Economic Transformation Agenda. That is the plan. And the plan for Kenya Kwanza has 5 components. The first component, very similar to food security, is agriculture. Agricultural transformation, inclusive growth. This is supposed to ensure that we invest in what is the low-hanging fruit for a country like ours, which is agriculture. Just get as many people as possible to go into the farms, get as many people as possible to produce their own food and food to sell, right? And to do this, what the government has tried to do is invest in in the AFC, putting 10 billion shillings there to try and see whether they can reduce the cost of credit for farmers. And then also invest in fertilizer. They have given literally nearly every farmer who was interested fertilizer at a very reduced price. Before, which was 7.5, it came down to 2,500. The idea here was trying and upscale the agricultural capacity of our country. And that happened. In just 1 year, we were able to move from 40 million bags of maize to 60 million bags of maize in just that particular aspect. And I'm sure this has happened in tea, in coffee, in dairy production. Hopefully, it is being felt not just at macro level, but even at micro level, where we have farmers. I mean, even I went into farming. I had never done this active farming before, where I'm doing onions, I'm trying to do maize, silage, and stuff like that. This is the whole idea of agricultural development. The second plan, under the Better Plan, comes to micro, small, and medium enterprises development. The idea here is the mama mboga, boda boda, the bottom of the pyramid business going up all the way to the medium enterprise business. Here, this is a bit of a difference between MSMEs, which is what Ruto is focusing on, and manufacturing, which is what Ruto was focusing on. Manufacturing is big scale. MSMEs is bottom of the pyramid. And here, the most in-your-face program that the government has come up with is a Hustler Fund. Hustler Fund is supposed to make it easy. When you keep hearing people making fun about what can 500 shillings do for you, what can 1,000 shillings do for you, they do not understand the micro and small and medium enterprise sector. When you have a micro business, when you have a micro enterprise, actually 500 bob is a lot of business. I've always used the example of someone who sells maize. You go to the market, you buy a certain number of maize cobs, you look for a place to choma them, you look for kidogo chako, and you literally value add that maize and sell it kama mahindi choma. The amount of money you need to be able to do that and the duration to turn around that money is very small. If you have 500 bob, you can actually turn it around to 700. If you have 1,000 shillings, you could turn it around to 1,500 by the end of the day. That is what is called a micro enterprise. And that's one of the things that the Kenya Kwanza government has promised they're going to focus on. The third thing that this government focused on, said that we're going to focus on, is affordable healthcare. Again, a direct carry through from the Uhuru administration. And here, you can see a deliberate effort by this government to actually make this reality. I think Ruto learned from Uhuru, you need to be able to raise the money, you need to rearrange the entire structure. We had the National Housing, the National Health Insurance Fund, which this government is turning to the Social Health Insurance Fund. And there's a lot of resistance. We've had some hard words coming from the presidency on how they're going to deal with the cartels that are trying to stop this transition. Something to watch. The fourth thing, of course, is housing. Again, a carry over from the Uhuru administration. But now in this case, again, maybe having learned from watching Uhuru, you really just cannot develop the housing program from collections. So what Ruto did is actually established a new fund specifically to deal with housing, which was one of the biggest controversies of this government, and one of the things that brought in the most resistance and was used by the opposition to fight them, which is a housing levy. So President Ruto introduced the housing levy. The idea here is to connect the money raised from this to the housing program and housing promise that he did. And that's when, even when people are resisting it, he kept asking them, but when we were campaigning, we promised we were going to build houses. Basically, what I was asking is, how did you expect us to be able to deliver this promise if we do not come up with a way of raising funds for this housing that we want to give? So that's where the housing levy comes in. One of the things that is very proactive about delivering that particular promise. Finally, what didn't exist in the previous administration, which is really a new thing altogether, the kind of thing we're even trying to do over here: digital economy, digital superhighway, and creative economy. Just trying to bring in new ideas, especially for young people. And this is where we've seen the government set up ICT hubs, free Wi-Fi, various places, the G2ME program. You have them investing a lot of money into just motivating and triggering young people to just think outside the box. Youth Connect. President and the deputy president just dressing up in drip and swag. Whole idea is to get the young people to stop imagining that they're going to have to build up to go into white collar jobs. It's actually possible to make money while wearing tattered jeans. It's actually possible to be an influencer and make money from TikTok. And the whole idea is, if we can create the infrastructure that allows young people to access the online economy, then they can actually make money. Government has invested in this as well. Of course, this being 16 months, 17 months from the time this particular government got into office, all of these plans are literally at infant stage. Whether it is universal healthcare, as I said, you can feel the resistance as the government tries to change from the National Health Insurance Fund to the Social Health Insurance Fund. When you go to agriculture, you're still feeling a lot of fight back from especially the politicals, because the people who farm, I have walked around, I have spoken to people, including my parents, people who have actually been able to access this fertilizer at 2,500 bob, appreciate it completely. And they have seen the change in their own farming capacities. The people who are resisting this and just saying, oh, we can't eat fertilizer, are most people who do not farm. But there has been interventions in that. We have seen the interventions in digital economy, we have seen the interventions in housing. And the whole idea of connecting the houses as a process of also adding jobs, and just that thing that you can do 160,000, 120,000 jobs if you're able to do the number of houses you're supposed to do every year. I guess it's politics, but it also connects people socially to what we're trying to do. All this is supposed to help Kenya attain its Vision 2030. Most people don't remember what Vision 2030 is supposed to be. It's supposed to create a country that is internationally competitive in the global industry. This is all we are supposed to do. And the idea of having a Vision 2030 is because you're going to have very many governments in between then, 2030, and where we are now. You need to keep aligning your policies. And for those people who want to be able to objectively, this is underlined objectively, there are people who are going to criticize this government all the time. Some people criticize it because they're employed to do it. Some people criticize it to build a profile. I'm talking about those people who want to objectively be able to criticize this government. If you want to objectively criticize this government, you have to understand what this government promised to deliver. This particular government, Kenya Kwanza administration, promised to deliver the plan, the better plan, to deliver in agriculture, to deliver in housing, to deliver in universal healthcare, to deliver in digital economy, and to deliver to micro and small enterprises. If you want to judge them, you have to think, you have to weigh them, you have to analyze them based on delivering in this. If you do that, you will actually join us in doing this half glass full attitude. Of course, there are things that are not working. 16 months, give them the benefit of the doubt. Have they started out in every one of the 5? Yes, they have. We've analyzed it, and we will keep sharing this, God willing, as we get into 2024, when now we start analyzing the government performance a lot more keenly than we have done. We've been giving them a break, but as we get into 2024, 2 years down the road, we're going to be a lot more keen in seeing how they're actually delivering. But here you are. We've given you an overview of what Kenya Kwanza promised. Judge them based on those 5 things. Same way we ought to have judged Uhuru based on the 4 things that he promised. And this is how, if we can do this, then we're going to have mature politics and mature political discussion about how governments are doing. So this is where we're at. Again, I want to go back to what I did last week. This is a holiday season. This is a season when people walk out of home and come back 3 days later unplanned. Tafadhali, be careful. It's just a season. It's going to pass. We're going to be back here in January. We're going to be looking for school fees. We're going to be starting a new year. People are going to be doing New Year resolutions. Do not let this holiday season break the momentum you have built that has kept you going throughout this year. If you've been exercising, if you've been trying to eat well, if you've been working, if you've been studying, whatever you've been doing, let the season enhance what you've been doing. Don't break up your momentum. So God bless you. God bless Kenya, and happy holidays. Asante.